What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Commissioner's Office podcast. My name is Daniel. Thank you all for tuning in here. We have the return of the podcast. I apologize for not putting up that many episodes in the last couple months or so. I decided to take the summer off. I just, going through a big transition in my life. This is the first episode that I have ever conducted that is not in my home bedroom, because as many of you probably know, I am off in college now, so I am actually recording this from the friendly confines of my dorm room. So that's the explanation for the break between episodes, but I feel like I needed to get an episode off my chest because, it's been rough being a Bears fan the last couple years or so. We've seen basically no progress, what we think is progress, but so far this year, the product on the field has not been very good. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, in the last couple days, probably unproductively. I probably should be doing other things like my homework, but at a certain point, I have to get my thoughts out of here because I actually have a lot of them, and I think they're different than other Bears fans. So, if you didn't know and you were living under a rock, the Bears are 0-2. They got shellacked in their first game versus the Packers at home, and now yesterday they just lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 27-17. Now, I think if you look at these two games individually, I think that the team looked a little better. The Bears looked a little better overall against the Bucs, but they still were not good enough to beat them. Justin Fields, in his critical third year, went 16 for 29 for 211 yards, 1 touchdown, passing, 1 rushing touchdown, and 2 interceptions. It is worth noting that both of those interceptions were in the fourth quarter, which I think when we talk about Fields as a player going forward later, I'll bring that up again. But yeah, those stats aren't going to blow anyone away. The running game was pretty much non-existent. Fields barely ran, apart from his 3-yard touchdown run on the game's opening drive, or at least the Bears' opening drive. And Khalil Herbert and rookie Roschon Johnson essentially couldn't really do anything. Now, the passing game at least did look better, as DJ Moore, the guy we traded our first overall pick and a couple other picks for, as well as Chase Claypool and Cole Kmet, all did play significant roles in the offense, which is good. That's encouraging. Unfortunately, there weren't that many encouraging parts of the game. The defense really just did not come to play. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they don't have Tom Brady anymore. They're being manned by Baker Mayfield, Rams legend. And Baker Mayfield put up 341 yards on us. Rachaad White, the running back, had 100 yards from scrimmage. We couldn't even sack Mayfield once, and we gave up numerous big plays, including a big touchdown to Mike Evans. Now, I will talk about the individual games later, but next week we got to face the Chiefs. So basically the question that all of us Bears fans are hoping for or asking ourselves now is, do we have any hope? And honestly, maybe. That's the best answer I can give you at this point. Before we talk about, bigger questions involving Fields, I do want to just, say a couple things that I think people need to at least remember before we get to, the stuff that you probably want to hear about. First of all, the Bears are 0-2. I understand that's not good. Statistically, for your chances at making the playoffs are much slimmer when you start off 0-2. Shocker. But here's the thing. Our first 2 games were against the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even though neither of them have their great Hall of Fame QB anymore, they're still well-rounded and well-coached teams. The fact that we lost to them, in my opinion, is really not that surprising. the Bears don't usually beat the Packers. They haven't beaten the Packers since 2018. That team feels like a century ago. It was only 5 years ago, and we barely beat them. Like, we beat them by like a score, maybe. Like, you could argue we should have beat them in some other games. Week 1, 2018. Anyway, but like, we beat Tampa Bay a couple years ago. That's true. But the fact is, we just don't beat these types of teams very often. So that's number one. Number two, the Tampa loss may sting to Bears fans, and especially to me it did, because like their quarterback is Baker Mayfield, who is not the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback for Oklahoma that we thought he was going to be necessarily. He's still pretty decent, but he's not that good. But then you keep in mind that this game was being played in Tampa Bay, and it was literally 103 degrees there. Like, it was 90 at game time, and then the humidity raised it up to 103 degrees. That's not good playing conditions. That's not normal playing conditions. I think people are going to forget that the day before there was a college football game at that same stadium. It was Alabama and I believe Central Florida. That game literally got delayed for like an hour because a monsoon came down. Like, this is probably just bad luck, honestly, that the weather was so bad. Well, it obviously is bad luck, but like, this is uncommon. The Bears will not have to play in 100-degree weather, I would wager, any other time this season. They might not even have to play in 100-degree weather at all next season, for all I know. Like, that is a rare occurrence. Point number 3. Everyone complaining about the defense, which I know is like the least of a lot of Bears fans' problems. Did we really expect the defense to be that much better than last year? No, like, genuinely. Like, okay, fine. Jack Sanborn, dog, linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds, dog. TJ Edwards, new signing, dog. Like, yes, we have upgraded our linebacking core. Our secondary, we drafted a couple of decent players who have not looked very good this season. Kyler Gordon has already hurt. Like, our safeties are the same. And our defensive line, we essentially didn't do anything to. We drafted a couple defensive tackles in the second round, and we signed Yannick Ngakoue a month ago. That's not that encouraging. If we had signed Daron Payne for like $100 million, fine, I kind of get that. But like, people who are like sitting here shocked that we didn't sack Baker Mayfield at all against a pretty solid offensive line in Tampa Bay, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, relying on Yannick Ngakoue and a bunch of rookies to sack a veteran QB is not like normal. So I think that that's another thing, is that people are like, oh, we're giving up 30 points a game. It's like, well, yeah, our defense is like not terribly different. We still have the same defensive coordinator, who in fact wasn't even there because Alan Williams is away for some personal reason. So that's another thing. That's point number 3. Point number 4. I need to stress this, okay? Yes, it is Justin Fields' third year in the NFL, second year in the new system. This is Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus and the rest of the coaches' second year. Are we sure that this year, 2023, was actually the year that we're going to take the leap? Like, yes, we had all the hype. We made some good free agent signings. We traded for DJ Moore. We got a right tackle. I'm not saying we didn't do anything relevant in the offseason, but we're only in the second year of a new regime. People saying to like fire all the coaches, they're like, oh, well, everyone's on a smaller time, like schedule this year. It's like, well, yeah, but firing a coach and GM after 2 years, that's a little hasty. At least in my eyes it is. You can argue that I'm wrong, but I like, don't mention the Eagles, okay? Everyone comparing the Bears and the Eagles for years, like, it drives me insane, okay? Because we are not the same as the Eagles, and it pains me to say. Because it's not like the Eagles went through this painful rebuild where they sucked for like 5 years like the Bears did, like, 6-7 years ago. The Eagles basically had a Super Bowl team. They literally had a Super Bowl winning team with Nick Foles, and they just calmly transitioned from Nick Foles and Carson Wentz to Jalen Hurts. How did they do that? I don't know. They didn't really get rid of a lot of their core. They still have almost the same offensive line as the people who went to the Super Bowl. Jason Kelce's still there. Lane Johnson's still there. Brandon Brooks, I think, retired. But, like, regardless, all those guys have been playing together for, like, most of their playing career. Yes, they've added offensive weapons and whatnot. Their defense is, like, pretty similar. These guys have all been playing together for multiple years. The Bears are just accruing a team that, like, you could argue that they don't even have a team-like identity right now. So we are not the same as the Eagles, okay? Do not compare us to the Eagles, and stop jumping to conclusions about, oh, this is the third year for Fields. Yes, but, like, technically it's not, because the first year was essentially a throwaway. It was literally a throwaway. So that's point number 4. Point number 5, the people who are complaining about how everything is being blamed on Fields or it's the offensive coordinator's fault, I hear you, but the offensive line is still a problem, okay? Like, yes, I saw the clips going around where Justin Fields is basically getting coverage sacked, or not even coverage sacked, he's just holding the ball too long. I understand. That frustrates the heck out of me, of course. But the O-line is still a problem. Like, Joe Tryon got into the backfield way too many times. He beat Braxton Jones way too many times. Like, I don't know why this is why Bears fans just pretend that our offensive line is actually going to be really good now that we drafted Darnell Wright. Don't get me wrong, I don't even think Darnell Wright, our new first-round pick, is even the problem at this point. I think he's actually played pretty well his first 2 games. Especially considering the assignment he's had. He's had to take on Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness, Barrington native, shout out Illinois, but also, like, screw the Packers. Like, he's had to take on Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness, and then week 2, he's got to go up against Shaquille Barrett, a guy who had 19 sacks not too long ago, and then Joe Tryon, who I think was like a first or second round pick a couple years ago. Like, I don't think Darnell Wright is the problem. I'm not saying that. But it's almost like when our 2 starting guards are both not playing against a top 5 defensive line in the entire NFL, and we have essentially shown no effort into improving I don't even know who our center is. Like, I guess it's Cody Whitehair at this point, a guy who everyone thought we were going to cut like 4 months ago. Like, we actually need to invest in building an offensive line through the draft. I'm not talking about signing Nate Davis. That was a fine signing. We'll see how that goes when he comes back. But, like, we actually need to, for once, invest a high draft pick in an interior offensive lineman. I understand why drafting a blindside tackle is important, and I think the Bears did that, and I credit them for that with drafting Darnell Wright. Was he the right pick over Jalen Carter? We'll probably never know. But, like, we need to use a first or second round pick definitely on a center. Like, when was the last time we've done that? We took a guard in the second round. That was James Daniels. He was great, and they let him walk in free agency. We took Hronis Grasu in the third round from Oregon in, like, 2015. He's not in the league anymore. Like, I'm glad that we got a tackle, but we still need more investment in the offensive line. We never can have enough good offensive linemen. So that's the 5 points that I wanted to make right there. I just needed to get that off my chest. I think there are some things that the Bears fans, we're very pessimistic as a franchise, and we're also really volatile and really reactionary. So, like, there were definitely people who were very suspicious of whatever Ryan Poles was doing and very cautious, like, oh, whatever, let's see on the field. And those people so far are claiming that they're right. But we also bought into our own hype that this team was going to be different. And is that our fault? Maybe, maybe not. But also, we're 2 games into the season. Like, this is another thing that, like, I'm sorry that Justin Fields has not become the 5,000-yard passer that we thought he was going to be yet. But, like, dude, we've played 2 games. 2. Just all the Bears fans complaining and thinking that the season is already over after 2 games. It's like, dude, just, like, chill, okay? I understand it's disappointing, but, like, we need to relax, okay? We have not played an entire season yet. We need to relax. And, look, I understand next week we're playing Kansas City. I get that, okay? We're probably going to lose to the Chiefs. That may be the most obvious statement ever. We're probably going to lose. But we might actually win, okay? because they've been kind of shaky to start the season. They lost to the Lions at home. When did the Chiefs ever lose it in Arrowhead? And they barely beat the Jaguars last week. Like, the Chiefs are not off to their best start. In fact, they're probably off to their worst start in a couple years. So, I don't know, okay? Before we write off the entire season, just can we just, like, watch the game? Can we just watch the season play out first, or at least the beginning of the season? So, with that out of the way, this is probably what you wanted to hear my opinion on. The big question for the Bears: is Justin Fields still the guy? Obviously, I have a personal connection to Justin Fields. I remember when he was drafted, and I defend the Bears. I've defended the Bears quarterbacks more than the average fan. But the big question, is he still the guy? Personally, I don't know at this point. I know that's kind of a lukewarm answer, but, like, I do not know. I just don't. Look, I mean, I think it would be easy to say that he's going, like, it would be very easy for me to argue that he is going through the same issue that Mitch Trubisky went through back in the day, where, you know, Fields is just not making reads quick enough. His mind is not moving through the progressions. But, like, honestly, I just don't think that that's always the case. Sure, there are definitely times where he took too long to throw the ball. Yes, I saw the clip of him having perfect protection and missing the guy up the seam for the touchdown. Yes, I know that that is an easy throw and something that any good QB should make. But there are also times where he just says, you know what, like, F this, and just goes insane. He makes some crazy throw. He makes some ridiculous run. Like, I don't see the just, like, total lack of like, you know, mental quickness that Mitch had. Like, Mitch was a good athlete like Fields. Fields obviously better, but Mitch was a good athlete, but, like, he also had a way worse accuracy and just kind of, like, was just slow in the pocket. Fields is not always like that. Like, half the time when he's got to make a quick throw, he makes it, and it's usually on line. Like, it's hard for me to explain this because I'm not a quarterback, but just there is no doubt in my mind, zero doubt, that Fields has talent and a lot of potential. With Mitch, it was just kind of different. I think Fields could still be really, really deadly. He's usually pretty accurate. Trubisky wasn't always accurate. And Fields' running ability is elite. Like, people are going to forget this, but, like, and they're going to call him a running back or whatever, but it's like, dude, his scrambling ability is otherworldly. Like, that's not something you can just line up at running back and just run. Like, that's not how that works. I think that the issue with Fields right now, it's completely mental. Like, it's nothing physical, but I don't even think it's an issue of mental quickness. Like, I think the biggest thing that's happening to Fields right now is that he's just being asked to do two completely conflicting things at the same time, basically. Like, one week, everyone says, oh, he needs to throw more. Why is he running every play? And then the next week, everyone's going to say, oh, he needs to run more. That's literally what happened. He goes out against Green Bay. He throws the ball, not greatly, but he still runs it pretty decently. And everyone says, oh, we need to just let him throw. So the next week, he throws. He does more or less the same, maybe a little better. And now everyone's going to say, oh, why didn't we run him more? And that is a fair question. But, like, think about what that's doing to your brain. That's just not helping. Like, it's confusing, you know? He's still trying to figure out how to balance running and scrambling. That's not an easy thing to do in the NFL. Like, someone like Patrick Mahomes just has the natural ability to do that. That's really rare. So I don't think this is something that's going to be like a career roadblock, or at least I really hope it isn't. And I hope it's not something that the Bears are impeding him from figuring out. But I honestly think that he just needs to clear his head and just kind of play more by his instinct, because his instinct is usually pretty good. When he wants to just sit down and have a good drive, he usually does. Like, there are drives where he looks really sharp and the Bears are like playing like the offense that they should be. But I think that there's so much conflicting advice that he's being given in his head that they, like, not only him, but the Bears as a whole, I think just need to sit down and just rethink exactly what they're doing. So if that doesn't make sense, if that's like too abstract of a response, then I will try to simplify it for you. Can we fix Fields? Yes. In my opinion, we can. Here's how. Okay, first, we need to get rid of the whole, our offensive identity is based on running, or, we should be a passing offense. Just throw that mentality in the trash. That's literally done nothing for us, okay? Our offense is not running. Our offense is not passing. Our offense is Justin Fields. Whatever we can do to maximize his skill set that he has, that is our offense. It's not based on giving Khalil Herbert 15 carries because of our, like, offensive line strength or something. Like, it is based on Justin Fields. There is no other answer to that question. We need to build the offense around him, not around the running backs, not around the receivers, not around a scheme that, Luke Getsy wants to run. You build it around Justin Fields. Like, that should not be... We should not be thinking of the Bears offense with a specific scheme. We should think of it as running around our quarterback. We also need to just stop with this whole, like, this time we're going to just pass more. That's all we need to do. Or vice versa. We need to run more. Like, we need a comprehensive offensive strategy that is based on a mixture of play types. Not one, not the other. We need a mix. That is the biggest issue. Like, on a full 75-yard drive from the Bears where they result in scoring a touchdown, I want to see all of the following. A designed run for Fields. Not a scramble, a designed run. I want to see Fields throw the ball. I want to see an inside run and an outside run. That means between the tackles, outside the tackles. I want to see Fields scramble. I think that is always a part of a key. That is always a key to a good drive. If the play breaks down, if someone runs a wrong route, gets fouled, falls down, I don't care. He usually has to scramble once in a drive. I want to see that too. I also want to see some kind of razzle-dazzle. Now, I argued and complained my head off about when the Bears offense got too flashy and then when it didn't get flashy at all, and I know I've been all over the place in this argument, but at the end of the day, playing offense is about keeping the defense on its toes, okay? So if every play is going to be an inside run to Roschon or Khalil Herbert, or it's just going to be a shotgun quick out from Fields, that's not going to help, okay? We need to see an end around. Let's put Velus Jones in space rather than trying to throw him the ball on the screen. Let's bring in Tyler Scott and, like, run some weird wildcat thing. Like, I don't know. Luke Getsy is the offensive coordinator. I'm not. He should know how to do this, okay? The fact that the play calling is so strange and, like, doesn't seem to fit the offense, like, that's not because Luke Getsy is, like, asleep or something. It's because he doesn't have confidence in the quarterback play. I understand that Fields is making mistakes at certain points and that the lack of confidence is not necessarily the lack of confidence I get. But at a certain point, we just need to try something different, regardless of confidence, okay? Because what we're doing just isn't working. Like, I feel like this is the same message from last year at a certain point, but, like, if Fields is scared of throwing the ball down the field, or at least the coaches are, like, I'm sorry, but he can do it. He's done it before. Like, just try something new. That's what I really want, and I want a mix of plays. I don't want, switching offensive identities every single week. Like, that's not how good teams play. You play to the player's strengths, okay? So that's part of it. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking about the screen plays too. Look, man, I have been a Bears fan since I started watching football in, 2011. Dude, I have never remembered a time where the Bears are consistently able to execute a wide receiver screen. Like, just stop running them, okay? It's that simple. We don't have the personnel for it, okay? Chase Claypool is not going to show the effort or is just not a talented enough blocker or whatever. DJ Moore is too small Equanimeous St. Brown is hurt. Like, we don't have the personnel for wide receiver screens. We just don't. Just cut it from the playbook. Just 86 it. Like, we don't need to run this play to be a good team. Going forward, if I were the Bears offensive coordinator, I would exclusively run running back or tight end screens, because those actually have worked so far this year, running a screen with Cole Kmet. I would only run a screen when we suspect a blitz from the other team. That is the only time that it's ever worked for us. And that's usually how it does work. When a defense is gonna crash up the middle, the linemen pull, and there's no one except for the secondary, in front of the linemen to try to tackle the running back or the tight end or whatever. If the defense is in a drop back coverage, like, our screens do nothing. Like, we need to rethink when we are running certain plays. We can't just throw a screen out there versus any given offense. We have to actually think about what we think the opposing defense is going to run. And also, no more screens inside your own 10-yard line, okay? Like, it does nothing. It does nothing. I understand the defense is going to be blitzing, within the 10 because they're looking for a safety, but at this point, there's no room to operate in the end zone, okay? Like, you don't have margin. You don't have, like, a big margin for error. It also just puts the QB in a more dangerous spot, okay? Because he's going to be dealing with even more pressure with even less space. He's more prone to getting a hit. Like, that throw that Fields made that was picked off. Like, okay, first of all, that was an insane play from Shaq Barrett. But also, like, we should not have been running that play in the first place. And also, he is going to take a big hit on that kind of play. Big thing that I took away from all the screen plays, like, it's not like they're always bad play calls, but we just need to stop running them, with the volume. Like, we can't have a screen-based offense. That's stupid. But we need to actually consider when defenses are going to bring pressure. It's usually on third downs. But against a team like the Bucs, they blitz a lot, so I understand running the screens. But stop the wide receiver screens. It's just never going to work, okay? I think the biggest thing on offense is that we need to do better on first down. Running it up the middle isn't going to do anything. That's usually what we've done the last couple years. Just kind of run it up the middle, first down. Especially didn't work in the Tampa Bay game. We couldn't get anything going because Tampa Bay has a guy named Vita Vea who's like 40,000 pounds and destroys our interior offensive line every single game. Every single time we play him, he's always there. If we're going to run a screen, because Luke Getsy is not listening to this right now, unless you are, and if you are, thank you. But if we're going to run a screen, can we try a screen on first down instead of second or third? Like, that way we have more opportunities to shorten the distance. Like, those screen plays either get us 10, 15 yards, or they lose 5, basically. Like, we need to just consider when we're running a play and why we're running it. Why does every throw have to be a drop back? Why did every throw Fields made today look like it was run from 2 different plays? Everything is in shotgun. It's either an outside route, 5 to 10 yards, or it's some, like, deep comeback that's, like, 15 yards. It works when it did, but, like, why does everything have to be a drop back? Try rolling it out. Like I said before, we need to mix it up. Use Fields' mobility to your advantage. With all this being said, I have just gone on for probably like 10 minutes at least explaining why the Bears need to mix it up on offense and why they completely need to rethink their offensive strategy. With that being said, I still think the defense is a bigger issue. Like, here's how I would try to go about fixing it. Maybe try blitzing more is one thing that I saw. Chicago has been pretty conservative so far when it comes to blitzing. We've only blitzed 5 times. And in a way, I understand that because our secondary is not very reliable. And against Tampa Bay, maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when we have 3 really, really good linebackers and 1 decent pass rusher, we need to do more to put pressure on the QB. We can't just rush 4 and assume that Yannick Ngakoue is going to carry the team. He's done okay so far, but we need to put more pressure on the QB. We need to try to put more pressure on the QB. You know, one thing I think that the Bears actually did, this is going to sound weird, but one thing the Bears defense actually did well in the Tampa Bay game was get the Bucs to third down. And I think in the Green Bay game, they did a pretty decent job at this, at least the beginning, too. But we are painfully bad on third down. We have been the second worst team in the league when it comes to third down conversion percentage so far. Like, getting the offense that we're playing to third down is a good thing. A lot of the times we had Baker on like a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. Like, that's good. And in many ways, that's kind of what saved us from the lead being, for the Buccaneers, bigger, was that there were a couple times the Bucs were in the red zone, were at midfield, but since they had to go like 13 yards on third down, we actually could make a stop. That's good. But we need to do better on third down. Just like the Bears need to do better on first down, they need to do better on every down because it's a scheming issue. But like, we need to do better on third down. Those were things that I could think of with the defense. But I think the main thing that we need to take away as a Bears fan base is that the offense can be fixed by just, in my opinion, I think it can be fixed by just kind of rethinking how the offense actually works. We need to stop thinking of ourselves as an identity through running or passing. It's just like, it needs to be more cohesive and it needs to be more consistent week to week. We can't come out in the first week and say, oh, we're gonna run and we're gonna run, and then the second week we're gonna pass because we couldn't pass the ball last week. No. We're going to come out every week and run our offense because we have a good offense. That's what good teams do. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid don't sit in, the film room, at least I don't think they do, on Monday and say, well, we just played the Lions and they have a great run defense and we couldn't run the ball. So this means this week versus Jacksonville, I'm just going to have to throw the ball 50 times and we're just going to not hand the ball to Isaiah Pacheco. It's like, no. They make adjustments based on the personnel, and they continue to largely do what they do, and that's why they're good. I'm trying to figure out how to word this next part of the episode, and this won't be very long, because this is the thing that I think has bothered me the most, honestly more than the on-the-field play, is just the reaction of the fan base. I've kind of prepared what might be a longer episode on this down the line. It might be like a YouTube video or something. Honestly, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. But I think that the Bears fan base has just completely lost all hope. And you can blame that on the ownership, on the team's performance. I understand, obviously, why they're losing hope. But, at this point, it's like, come on. It's just getting ridiculous to this point. We call ourselves so bad. We have no faith in our organization to improve. We just accept that we're like a laughingstock of the league right now. It doesn't help. It's not going to help the team's performance. In fact, it's probably just going to make it worse. So all the Bears fans who are like, oh, man, Caleb Williams sweepstakes are starting now. First of all, it's been 2 weeks. I don't know why I have to keep saying this, but dude, I know we're on a losing streak. I have eyes, but it's just getting ridiculous to this point. Why are we so hyped about the team? How do we go from caring so much to not caring so much? You have to have more faith as a fan base. It just bothers me so much when it's been 1 week after the Packers loss and everyone's like, oh, man, got to sell the team, I guess. Got to fire Poles, fire Eberflus, get rid of Fields. He's not the guy. It's have a little patience, please. I think people are so, a lot of those people have been calling it for 3 years. The second Fields was drafted, he was like, nah, he's not the guy. And they want to be right. To them, that's more important than actually seeing the team they supposedly love have success. It's and I get it. I've been this guy before. I have been very pessimistic before. I'm not saying I'm an optimist, but at a certain point, we have to just accept that the spot that we are in is not ideal. But as a fan base, we're all united for our love for the team. And that's not something that's supposed to just go when we're 0-2. Like, I could probably make a whole historical argument about NFL teams that started off badly that played well, like, and finished the season successfully. But like, I just don't think I should have to explain this to Bears fans. There's so many of us who talk about how we've been a fan for 30 years, 25 years, and we've seen the highs, we've seen the lows, and it's like, this is a low, sure, but it's going to get better. I really do believe that it's going to get better. Because frankly, if you're going to look at it from a pessimist perspective, it can't get much worse. So what I would just say to Bears fans is just, you have to just have faith. Like, I don't know what else to say. Or else, like, if you genuinely don't see any hope in, the foreseeable future for the Bears, then, like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't watch the team. Maybe you shouldn't go to games anymore. That's understandable. But for those who believe in the team and want to see the team succeed, you just got to stay and ride it out. That's the only thing I can say, really. But, we covered what I think the team should do on the field and in Hallis Hall. I think if they do that, I really do think they're going to be better. People forget that the Bears, part of what makes us so frustrating as a fan base, or as a franchise, is that we've always had good players. Our problem has never been the ability to accumulate good players or good teams. We seem to have a really, really good team once every 5 years, but it hasn't seemed to materialize into any deep playoff run or any Super Bowl since 1985. That's what's so frustrating. We have all these good players and we never can do anything with them. I think we're at another point in that history. We have a really good team, and that team isn't gonna fade away after this season. It'll still be here, at least for a little bit. We gotta have some faith, okay? So Matt Eberflus and Luke Getze and Ryan Poles, Virginia McCaskey, since you all consistently listen to this podcast, I'm being very serious in that. And when I say that, take my advice, and also just know that the real fans, they will stick around, and because we all want to see us do well. But also, try to mix up the offense a little bit, all right? It's getting really boring watching Fields throw 10-yard out. Let him cook a little bit. That felt good. So, those of you who made it to the end, I want to thank everyone for listening to another episode of the Commissioner's Office podcast. Now, it's hard to believe, but when I started this podcast, the way I kind of keep track of everything is that the start of every school year is a new season. So technically, this is the 4th season of the Commissioner's Office podcast. It's pretty insane, but I wouldn't be able to keep doing this without the support of all the listeners. So I love you guys, and I really appreciate it. So if you are a new listener and you like what you heard, make sure to check me out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you have an episode suggestion, you know where to find me. Hit me up. I'm always looking for new episodes and new topics to talk about. But just wanted to thank everyone for listening once again, and I will see you all next time.